Welcome back to my channel. I'm Zena with Zena is Sewing, and this week I am coming to you with all of the makes that I've made in the Pattern Hack series for Simplicity 8656. We're talking about this pattern right here, and we're in the middle of doing a series of pattern hacks. And I wanted to come back this week and show you all of the hacks that I've done with Simplicity 8656 thus far. So we'll start with the very first time I made the pattern and then when I started hacking it. Just a little bit of background. If you haven't watched last week's video, we are doing a series for Simplicity 8656 and we're going to be doing the top version. I suggest that you go ahead and pick up this pattern if you don't already have it in your stash, and go ahead and make the original version so you can test the fit and know kind of how you want the pattern to lay on your body. And with that being said, I wanted to share my makes with you and then talk about some of the projects that we're going to be working on during this series. And we're going to start with the banded bottom, the top that I'm wearing. And this is Simplicity 8656 with the banded bottom and the banded sleeves, and then the finished neckline with bias binding. And we're going to start with that first hack next week. But I did want to come to you this week and just kind of pique your interest so that you can know some of the hacks that I've done, so that you'll be able to see some of the things that we might be able to recreate in this series. I am not a master of the sloper, so let me start by saying that. And this is the reason why I wanted to come to you and do this series. Because I'm not a master at the sloper just yet, I use 8656 as my sloper pattern. When I first made this pattern, I wasn't impressed and I almost chunked it and never picked it up again. But then I decided to revisit 8656 and decide to see if I could do some other things with it. And it became my favorite tried and true pattern. As you can see, I have a whole row of things that I've made with Simplicity 8656. Some things that you're probably wondering, that came from that pattern? Yes, it did. And we're going to do some of those things in this series. So I hope you'll join me. So let me start by talking about the very first time I made this pattern. This is the very first time I made the pattern. I made it out of scuba knit fabric, which I loved the scuba knit and the way that scuba knit it laid with this pattern. And so I finished the neckline with bias binding, just how I've done in most of the makes that I've done with Simplicity 8656. And then I just did a regular hem with a double needle, and I closed the sleeves off the same way with a twin needle. So I didn't do anything fancy with the pattern. This is the pattern in its original version. However, I loved it. I loved the look of this, but I didn't like the way it looked on me. And so I'll be showing you some pictures of the makes on me that I took, so you'll be able to see those makes. They'll be above somewhere. So you'll be able to see what the makes actually look like on me. I have a particular style that I like, and there are some things that I try to hide so I can have a more figure flattering appearance. And one of the things that I want to hide is my belly, this little gut area, so I can have like a figure flattering shape and an appearance when I'm wearing my clothes, which is why I love the banded bottom, because it kind of gives you a silhouette of a blousey kind of feel. And depending on what fabric you use, like this fabric is from Joann's, and I'm not really sure because I cannot remember, I bought it so long ago. I feel like it might be sort of like a rayon viscose fabric, but it's a little bit more flowy, and so it kind of lays a little different. And so we're going to talk about fabric choices when we're doing our pattern hacks, because you're just like with anything that you make, your fabric choice is going to determine how your pattern lays, or how your make lays on you. And so that's important to think about as well. And I've learned some things along the way with different fabric types. So scuba, I feel like, is a really good look for Simplicity 8656, especially in its original version. However, it was just a little short for me, as far as short in the front, so it didn't hide enough of this little belly area. So I didn't really find it figure flattering. On me, I liked the way it looked, and I could probably camouflage it and wear, you know, my little Spanx or panty girdle and get away with it. But it looked more, not necessarily like a crop top, but like a top that just stopped right at your waistline. And so that's something to consider when you're making this. So this is the original version, and I think I've only worn this top maybe twice because of that reason. So let's talk about the second make. This is Simplicity 8656, and I've worn this top several times, so much so that it's starting to get kind of knitted up. This is like a t-shirt jersey knit fabric, and I love the feel of this fabric. It actually makes me think about a t-shirt, because of course it is t-shirt jersey, but it's a little bit thicker than like some of your thinner jersey knits. And I use fold over elastic to finish the neckline, and I wasn't real pleased when I first made it, but I think I've grown to love this top. And I used rib knitting to close out the sleeve, and I used a banded bottom, just like I have on here, with rib knitting to finish the hem. Now, I actually loved this so much, and I was like, this is a really nice top. Like, I wore it's starting to kind of get knits in it. I've worn it so much. But this is a good color too, because this color goes with it. It's a cream off-white color, so it kind of goes with everything. And I actually made this exact style twice. So I did it in that cream that you see here with the fold over elastic and cream, and then I did it again in this this is more of like a terry sweater knit. I really don't know the name of it, and I hate that, but it's like a terry sweater knit. And I finished it with fold over elastic in pink, and then I did velvet for the bands. Now, I wasn't really a fan of the velvet, and I'll tell you why. Even though it's a stretch velvet, it doesn't do the same, it doesn't lay the same way that rib knitting does. So it was okay on the sleeve, because I didn't really need any kind of allowance. But when the banded bottom part didn't really give me any give. Rib knitting has a special kind of give where it elasticizes and it comes back, it stretches, and it comes back to shape. Stretch velvet, not so much. It just kind of, it's a little bit more stiffer and rigid. So even though I do like this top, it's just not a favorite, and it's not as figure flattering. And again, you'll see the pictures of pictures of me in these makes.